Today on the list, we're better together.
Whatever happens, we'll be messing things up together.
With friendships.
When they succeed, when they're happy, we're also happy.
In relationships.
Be sure it goes both ways.
With your pets.
We can show mutual love and respect in any love language.
And in your neighborhood.
There is a beautiful view when you take the high road.
It's your life, it's your list, and we're better together right now.
Hey everyone, I'm Christina Guerrero.
And I'm Jimmy Rhodes. And while things are starting to feel kind of normal again, the months of isolation and loneliness brought on during the pandemic have taken a huge toll on people of all ages.
And that's because as much as we may claim to be introverts or love our alone time, we human beings are better together. Incidentally, that's also the theme of today's show.
And one way we can connect is with our neighbors. And thanks to social networks, it's easier than ever to become acquainted with the people in your area.
Yes, but unfortunately, it's also easier to complain to and about them as well.
So Teresa Strasser found some ways to keep the peace and be a good neighbor. And that's our featured story at the top of the list.
Would you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor?
We all want to live in happy, joyful neighborhoods like Mr. Rogers, but in reality, sometimes neighbors argue about things like fireworks, barking dogs, and parking problems. So what do you do when things get heated on neighborhood apps and websites like Nextdoor?
We really believe that neighborhoods are the unit of change in this world, and we believe that people coming together is a good thing.
Katie Kobe, Nextdoor's head of community, has some neighborly ways to interact with your fellow residents. First up, if you read something irritating, take a pause.
Decide if you even need to respond. I like to remind people that there is a beautiful view when you take the high road, so you can decide if a response is even warranted. Sometimes it's not.
And if you do choose to reply, she says, calm down first.
If you feel like you're tense, or maybe like your cheeks are flushed, or you're just like really angry and your first instinct is just to go like bam, bam, bam on the keyboard, don't reply then. Go out and take a walk. Go get a coffee. Do something that kind of like brings down the temperature a little bit and puts you into like a better frame of mind so that you can actually communicate a little bit more thoughtfully.
Social media can be a spectator sport, so try to avoid going toe-to-toe online. Her next tip is to send a direct message.
One of my favorite moves is to actually send somebody a direct message instead of responding publicly, or like leave a comment that basically says, hey, I'm gonna send you a direct message so we can explain this a little bit. And then everybody else can see like, oh, well, there's no fire here, there's no fun. We can like go on our way.
But if an issue is too big to solve on your own, there is a function on Nextdoor where you can report abrasive comments, and Nextdoor's moderators can help with the situation. Another option is to contact a mediator outside of the app on your own.
Maybe you have an apartment manager who can help kind of be like a mediator between a tough conversation. You may have an HOA board. For single family homeowners, there's obviously mediator services kind of all over the place.
You can hire one, but they're not cheap. Some charge at least a couple $100s. Many cities do offer free mediation services though. Finally, if you want to connect with your neighbors, post positivity.
There's a ton of amazing photographers who go out and take gorgeous like landscape photos of your city, and then they'll go post them in Nextdoor. You can search for like a photography group.
There are lots of different types of groups you can join, or you can create your own.
If you're doing any, I don't know, decoration DIYs, all of that stuff, those are great stories to share on Nextdoor. Maybe a neighborhood kind of like wreath making weekend, but those are great opportunities just to kind of bring people together, get to know each other a little bit more.
Getting to know our neighbors is at the top of the list.
Everyone wants to fall in love, so wouldn't it be great if there was a way to accelerate the process? Well, science found you can cultivate a relationship with someone, and it all starts with curiosity. We are looking at the 36 questions that lead to love.
Would you like to be famous, and in what way?
What's your most treasured memory? Before making a phone call, do you ever rehearse what you're going to say?
Those are just a few of the questions that can lead to falling in love.
If you reveal something a little bit personal and they reveal something back, you get a little more comfortable.
Research professor Arthur Aaron has been studying close relationships for years, and it's his 1997 study that remains relevant years later that revealed the 36 questions that can lead to closeness with another person.
The idea was we wanted to be able to do this in the lab in about 45 minutes. So we divided the 36 into 3 sets of 12, and the first set gets gradually more personal.
And it worked, especially for 2 research assistants.
I had them try it out, and they actually fell in love and got married.
Nice to meet you.
Should we sit down?
Yes, yes.
Throughout his research, he's learned what it takes to get close and fall in love, starting with Get Personal.
What's really there is when you're trying to get close to someone, share personal stuff, but not too deep too soon. And be sure it goes both ways. And then get more and more personal.
That's why, as long as you really are compatible, these questions can help. You're each sharing deeply personal things at the same rate.
What would constitute a perfect day for you?
Botanical gardens with you.
Yeah, but I don't like bugs.
But if you're already a part of a couple, asking each other the questions can bring you even closer and strengthen friendships.
It turns out if we have 2 couples doing it, that it really deepens their relationship across the couples, but also within each couple, they actually increases their passionate love.
What is your most terrible memory?
And for those couples that have been together for a long time, doing something new and challenging is essential for keeping the flame alive.
If a crystal ball could tell you the truth about the future or anything else, what would you want to know?
Will Joseph always love me?
We have lots of research showing that people think love inevitably declines. And for most people, it does over time. But in one of our U.S. national surveys we did, after 10 years of being married, 40% of people claimed they were intensely in love.
To find the full list of 36 questions, head to our website at thelisttv.com.
We are both in this room feeling like there's a little bit of a crush happening.
True.
36 questions that lead to the answer of love.
Of course, better together doesn't apply to every relationship, not if there's a toxic friend involved. These wolves in sheep's clothing use their charm to win you over, only to mislead, mistreat, and exploit you. And if you suspect this might be happening to you, we're looking at the red flags to look out for.
Hey, I'm famous.
The Netflix series Inventing Anna revolves around a woman that scammed her way through New York City's elite social circles.
Her name is Anna Delvey, or Anna Sorokin, no one's sure.
Whoever she was a toxic friend. Though, of course, she was highly skilled at hiding it.
I realized the clues were there all along.
One quality of narcissism tends to be charm, tends to be charisma, tends to be things like love bombing, where they show you how much they love you and they value you.
Dr. Marissa Franco, psychologist and friendship expert, is giving us the 411 on how to spot a toxic friend before the damage is done. First up, they're malicious.
It might be bullying, it might be talking down to a friend.
In this toxic dynamic, they make you feel you're not worthy of them in a way that makes you desperate to win their approval.
If they continue to belittle you, then you need to walk away and not work harder.
Our next toxic trait, they aren't a cheerleader.
They don't mirror your joy. In fact, they try to bring down your joy.
Research shows that having someone mirror our joy is even more important to our satisfaction in our relationships than whether people show up when we're in pain.
When a friend brings us down, what that indicates is there's this problem.
If a friend isn't celebrating your victory, they could be resentful or jealous. And with friends like that, you don't need enemies. Next up, they're selfish.
A friend is like, come to my dance recital, and you're like, I'm sick, I can't come. And that friend says, you're an awful friend. They just want you to show up for them.
But when it's time for them to show up for you, they don't come through, and they somehow turn you into the problem.
All of us deserve relationships of reciprocity, where we are intentional about giving to our friends, but we're also cultivating friendships with people that are also willing to give to us.
Which leads us to the last toxic trait on our list. They withdraw in your time of need.
We can kind of amplify our pain when we don't get that social support and we've made ourselves vulnerable and we've asked for it.
So if your friend is suddenly too busy when you need them the most, you might want to think about downgrading them to acquaintance.
Friends can be at many different levels of closeness. Maybe we're not going to be as close as we always were, but maybe I'll see them once a month. If you are chronically feeling negative after interacting with them, it probably indicates that you don't feel valued or you don't feel authentic in the friendship. We might consider ending the friendship. We can't feel connected to people when we're inauthentic.
That's how to steer clear of toxic friends.
Still to come on our Better Together special, how to help teachers help your child.
You have to make that alignment with yourself and with the teacher.
And train your dog with love languages.
Don't chase your dog. Have your dog chase you.
Plus,
love doesn't just happen to you. It's hard work.
Learn about relationships from the stars of trying.
Two people trying to do the right thing.
All that and more next.
Friends, welcome back. All right, one way people can be better together is when it comes to raising children.
Right, we all know that being on the same team as our kids' teachers can be a big help, but how can parents be good advocates without becoming overbearing?
Yes, Hadi Jamal spoke to an education expert for some tips on how to work in tandem with teachers.
If you're a parent or a caretaker, packing your kids' lunch and checking their homework is great. But if you really want them to do well at school, you've got to talk to their teacher.
So I think it's a big fear of how do I walk the line of advocating for my child but not being disrespectful to the teacher.
Beth Gaskill, CEO and founder of Big City Readers, shares her list of what teachers wish parents knew. And at the top of the list is, teachers want your involvement.
The biggest thing is asking the teacher how much involvement they would like from you, and then you assessing how much works for your family.
This involvement can look different for each household.
It can look like just making sure they get their homework done. It can look like reading the emails. It might look like coming in as a mystery reader once a month.
She says once you know what the school year looks like, try to plan for the time you'll be putting in. For the best results, Beth says you should know how to communicate.
Remind yourself, this teacher chose to be a teacher because she cares about my child.
If there's a negative situation you need to address about your kid, use what she calls the compliment sandwich.
Compliment, the problem, and then a compliment again.
Tell the teacher you respect them and their experience. Then,
I'm curious about this. My child was really upset about this. Can you tell me more about it?
Then remind the teacher your kid is having a great time this year.
Kind of just close it up, make it feel warm and fuzzy.
Beth's final lesson is it's better to give than to receive.
So the first one is, how do you prefer to be contacted? Because every teacher has their own way, and maybe every school has their own procedures too.
This can prevent confusion or problems if an issue arises.
Do you need anything for your classroom?
Ask if they have an Amazon wish list or items, or if they want any of your used books.
It doesn't need to be very big and showy, just kind of little reminders that you are on the same side as your teacher.
Send them complimentary emails and let the teacher know what's going on at home.
And you can share with them as much or as little as feels right for you and your family. Remember that your teacher cares about your child and wants to be a part of their life.
Get an A+ in parenting by reaching out to the teacher.
Well, you know who else is better together? A person and their BFF, their best friend of the four-legged variety, that is. Dogs have ways of communicating with us, and if we figure out what they're saying, it'll make bonding and training a much better experience. So we are falling in love with Fido all over again by learning about your dog's love language.
Hi, sweetie. Hi. Some dogs can't control their joy when they see us, while others, not so much. Like humans, they have different ways of showing their affection.
They were born to help us, and we can show mutual love and respect in any love language.
Angie Woods, canine behavior specialist, tells us about 3 of the dog love languages and how knowing them will improve the relationship with your pup. First up, play.
They may do a play bow with us and be really flirty, but some dogs, particularly herding breeds, tend to come up sometimes and poke you with their nose.
If play is your dog's love language, it can be used as a great way to bond. But it's important to follow these guidelines.
We want to make sure that everybody stays respectful, that we're not too rough with them and teaching them to play in a rough manner. One great way to bond with your dog who loves to play is the chase game. Now, there's an important caveat here. Don't chase your dog. Have your dog chase you.
Reminding your dog that you
you are the alpha in the relationship during play will help establish who's boss when it comes time to train. Up next, physical affection.
They tend to come up and nudge your elbow a lot and get in your way when you're working on the computer and really being a little bit annoying sometimes because they're begging for so much attention.
A great way to show physical affection is through grooming.
We might use brushes and combs. We could use a damp little cloth and really being gentle and rhythmic. That mimics the way that they might groom each other.
Our final doggy love language, acts of service.
Typically, these are working dogs.
Retrievers, collies, sheepdogs, and shepherds are just a few dog breeds that usually have acts of service as their love language.
The biggest thing I could recommend for people, if you do nothing else, is just to go walk with your dog. It sounds like a simple thing, but not only are they doing something for you, but you are doing a huge service for them.
Dog walks give pet owners opportunities to socialize their dogs as well as practice commands, which speaks to their love language. But don't forget to bring the treats. Best friends bonding with love language. Hey guys, welcome back. Today on the watch list, we are talking about an Apple TV Plus show that's about being better together. The show, called Trying, has 3 critically acclaimed seasons under its belt and has just been renewed for another one. I sat down with the stars to learn more.
Love you.
I love you.
Even like this.
I love you more like that.
Critics and fans alike love the Apple TV Plus series Trying, and I felt the love when chatting with stars Rafe Spall and Esther Smith.
Nice to meet
Lovely to meet you, Christine.
Thank you guys so much for being here. Let's talk Trying.
Right, let's go, let's go, let's go.
Tell me a little bit about Trying.
So it's about a couple that are unable to conceive naturally. So they decide to go down the route of adoption, and we follow these 2 characters, go through that process and see if they can become parents that they've always wanted to be.
I think we're going to be amazing parents.
So if the first season has us deciding to adopt and then being approved by the local authority, the second season has us matching with children, and then third season has us with the child that we've matched with, but we have slightly more than we bargained for because she turns up with her little brother. It's all very moving and heartbreaking, but at the same time, light and fun and funny, and they face this adverse situation using humour and also their deep love for each other.
Whatever happens, we'll be messing things up together.
What does Trying kind of mean as a concept for the entire series?
It's such a good question because I think it covers so much, and I think there's so many interpretations of what that word could be and could mean. And for me, this show is about people just trying to flow with these curveballs that have been hit on them and just how they deal with it.
The world is a scary place for a lot of people, and there's a lot of terrible things on TV in terms of bad news, and this is about 2 people trying to do the right thing, and it's optimistic and it's about love and hope.
Aww, I mean, who doesn't want more of that on TV?
Right.
That just feels fantastic.
Love doesn't just happen to you. It's hard work. If you want it, you find it.
So it's about holding on to the small wins and forgiving yourself for the multitudinous failures, because they're going to keep coming. Whatever it is you do in your life, you're going to fail all the time. But it's about how you get up the next day and go, I'm going to carry on, and I'm going to be grateful for that which I have. That's represented really beautifully in the show, that people are flawed and fallible and make mistakes, but they're there for each other. And that's really warm, lovely, hopeful, optimistic message, I think.
It's a bit scary, but you can't get too attached to what you think your life's going to be.
I also love that you're British.
So do I.
Do you find that us Americans are just so superficial in our love for your accent?
No, it's nice. It's always a surprise. It's a
It works
surprise.
both ways because I love the American accent, so I'm always really enamoured by that. So it's just like a big love off, actually.
We're falling in love with Trying on the watch list.
Welcome back to our Better Together show. Now, one of the toughest parts of any romance is figuring out what makes your partner tick. And the old pickup line, hey, what's your sign, may actually have the answer. Jackie Denker says if you want to learn your partner's priorities, look to the stars.
We all have the desire to love and be loved. But according to astrology,
every sign has this kind of thing that it just really, really needs at its base core to feel fulfilled in any relationship.
To learn what each sign longs for, we turned to astrologist Jim Ventura. We're starting off with Pisces.
One key word Pisces would look for is romance. Pisces is a sign that could be selfless and giving and compassionate and caring. So they have very high idealistic standards about what they want in love.
So if you're looking to win over a Pisces, think traditional romance.
Rose petals on the bed, candles lit, a nice cooked meal for selfless giving Pisces is going to turn them on and make them happy.
Next up, let's find out what Aries need in love.
To ultimately win an Aries heart, make a point to put Aries first. You got a very, very adventurous, strong sign that's geared toward conquering a mate. They like a little bit of challenge.
But don't go toe-to-toe with them. Let them call the shots.
Let them pick the restaurant that you're going to go out on a date. Let them make the decision of who's going to lead. If you give it all to them, you got Aries.
Finally, we're breaking down the love language of Taurus.
Taurus is a sign that seeks security, that seeks comfort, that seeks stability at all costs. So when it comes to relationship, you've got to validate them. They need to be acknowledged for their literal value.
So shower them with compliments and then maybe cook up a nice meal.
They like to taste things, to indulge, to experience the deliciousness of life. So give them a bit of that, and you got Taurus in your back pocket.
Didn't see your sign? Head to thelisttv.com. Now we can give our loves what they truly need according to astrology.
Okay, so I am a Libra, which is the scales. So of course I need relationships to be balanced. How about you?
Pisces. So I guess that means my love life's being held underwater.
Yeah, maybe. It is your optimism that people really like, Jimmy.
Thanks.
Friends, thanks so much for watching The List. We'll see you next time.